And hello, cricket badgers around the world. The end of 2024 is upon us. We're nearly into 2025, and 2024 has brought all of the usual stuff, moaning about slow over rates, various other things, but also some fantastic performances as we've gone through the year. I'm pleased to say, at the moment, we might get joined by a few others as we go through, but joined by Mark. Hello, Mark. Good to have you back on. Neil's with us as well, and very good to see Deepak back. Deeps. It's been a while. We were just saying about 2 years since you've last been on the Cricket Badger podcast. Very good to see you back with us as well. And we are going to go through some awards and chat about these various categories as we go through. We might as well just get straight into it, haven't we? I'm going to start with the best batter of 2024. What we've done is we've asked all of the fan badges, not just the three that are joining me today, but there's about 12 other ones as well around the world who have been voting their socks off to get the categories sorted out. I've given them no leanings at all. And the 5 most voted for best batter in 2024, Harry Brook, the Englishman, Travis said, the Aussie, Yashasvi Jayaswal, the Indian opener, who's had a stellar campaign, Kamindu Mendis, the Sri Lankan, and Joe Root, obviously England's ever steady and reliable middle order batter. In terms of this one, Mark, let's start with you. Where did you cast your vote in terms of where you saw that award going?
I cast it for Harry Brook because I thought some of the innings he played this year, given he's still in the genesis of his Test career, were on another level. He makes the game look very easy. He has, maybe because of the nature of Bazball, also thrown in a few howlers, shall we say, but generally speaking, he looks as though he could dominate Test cricket for a long time.
What about you, Deeps? What was your vote? Who was your best batter of 2024?
Yeah, I was a little confused between Kamindu Mendes and Yashasvi Jaiswal. Jaiswal did, almost single-handedly carried the Indian batting in the England series. Has been a little on and off in the Australian series, played 2 good knocks, but Kamindu Mendes has been a revelation for Sri Lanka. Ever since he came, Sri Lankan batting lineup looks completely different. They have seen a complete turnaround. They have won a test in England, beaten New Zealand 2-0, and competed well in South Africa as well. So, yeah, I would say Mendes will be my choice.
And Neil, I think you agree with Deeps there, don't you?
Yeah, I went for Mendes just because he's played 2 series that I was aware of, and I was looking mainly at someone who'd contributed in Test matches, and he was superb in England, and then he was superb at home against Sri Lanka. I think Joe Root was excellent in parts. I think India series he did well the last 2 tests, but the series was almost gone. And Harry Brook, again, like Mark said, alongside some absolutely storming performances, there were some where he just seemed to give it away a bit. I think if he'd had a chance to play the India series, he understandably wasn't able to go to that. Then that might have changed things, and also the perception worldwide, because I don't think he's really had the chance to play Test cricket on real turners yet. And what he did in the 23 World Cup and in the IPL the season he played weren't that impressive against spin. I was thinking about this before. I want to shout out KL Rahul, who was excellent in South Africa, had a very good test against England before he got injured, has been moved up and down the order, and he's been, for my mind, the best Indian batter in Australia. Even if the scores don't really reflect it, I think he's been absolutely superb. I think those are the ones, but Mendes has just been absolutely stunning, and it's 10 test matches now, average of 74. It's they've got one there for a guy they thought was just a novelty spinner who could bowl with both arms.
I'm hoping that Yorkshire's signing for the county season, but we'll see what happens with that. I'm sure some counties will be interested because he looks an absolute fantastic player. In terms of the 4 people you can see on the screen, it's 2 votes for Harry Brook, because I voted for Harry Brook as well, and 2 votes at the bottom of the screen for Kamindu Mendis. But the winner is, because it wasn't just us voting, the winner is dum 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 dum. It is the Sri Lankan middle order, Kamindu Mendis, best batter of 2024, according to the Cricket Badger podcast. As Neil says, just over 1,000 runs, average of 74.93. His conversion rate's pretty good as well, 500s and 3 other 50s. So when he gets in, he stays in, does Kamindu Mendis. So the first of our awards goes to Sri Lanka. This next one.
Sorry, just one more that I did consider. Possibly people didn't because of test matches. Klassen has dominated white ball cricket in both formats, but he hasn't played test matches. But if he had, then I think my vote may have come there.
Neil was the one that messaged me beforehand to ask me how long it was going to be today, so he could get his tea sorted out, and he's the one extending it. Anyway, we are moving on to our next category, which is best bowler of 2024. Now, we've done quite a few votes like this on the Cricket Badger podcast, IPL awards in the past. I have never had a category with as many votes that we've had for the category where we have only had one person mentioned. And that just shows what kind of a year this man has had. Only one player for the best bowler of 2024 received a nomination. And I don't think it's going to take too much guessing to work out. It's a man that's taken, well, he could add one more wicket to his tally in the current MCG test, but 74 wickets at 15.64 in test match. He's also took 15 at 8.27 in T20 internationals. The winner is, of course, Jasprit Bumrah, Indian megastar, absolutely superb. And I was trying to get to bed last night, and I just could not turn the television off because I was watching Jasprit Bumrah running in, bowling at the Australian batters. It was engrossing test cricket. And he is, let's start with you, Deeps. Jasprit Bumrah, I tweeted yesterday, I wish I could just have the ability to bowl one over like he does, where he just taffles up in knots and beats the outside edge. Just be able to bowl one over like that would be amazing. He does it all the time, doesn't he? He's incredible.
Yeah, he's a rock star, man. He's unbelievable. I mean, India, despite having a very poor show with the bat, are still 1-1 in this series, and they might have a chance to win this test as well. And it's just because of that one guy. It's Jasprit Bumrah. We saw how he turned it around in the Perth test after India got all out on 150. And not just test cricket. If you see the white ball cricket as well, he hasn't played much, but the one tournament he played, India won it after 11 years. So, yeah, I mean, you fall short of words to describe him, seriously.
There's not much point in asking either of you two who you voted for, because I've already given that away. But Mark, Bumrah, just watching him bowl, I mean, unorthodox run up, all the rest of it. But when he lets that ball go, it sings, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, when you see his action, you wouldn't think he'd be able to generate the pace he does or the control over the, what he's doing in terms of the seam position and so forth. But yeah, I mean, everyone's said what needs to be said about him globally, haven't they? There's no superlative left for him, really. I think the only thing in terms of him will be his longevity. He's only played 45, 46 test matches, which this day and age is not a huge amount. So it'll be interesting to see if he can get up to 80, 90 test matches, see how many wickets he gets, if he's going to be considered in the pantheon of all-time greats. But I think he's probably virtually up there at the moment, so I don't see any reason why he shouldn't. But yeah, so there's nothing to say about him. He's just a great bowler.
He's gone past 200 wickets, Neil, in this series in Test cricket. 74, as I say, this calendar year could get a 75th if he takes the last of Australia's wickets in the current Test. Average of 15.64. I have not checked this, but I think I heard Ishigu say on the commentary last night that that's the best record of anybody in a calendar year in Test cricket, which is some going, isn't it?
It's lunacy, absolute lunacy. and especially considering that these days we have 2.5 months for the IPL, and then we add, let's set aside another 5 weeks for a T20 World Cup. So Test cricket for him has been a couple of series at the start of the year against England, South Africa, and then it didn't start up again until late September. Um, it's unbelievable, and as brilliant as he has been in Test cricket, which because the size and the profile of the BGT and his performances being otherworldly so far, loads of people are speaking about. But I think in T20 cricket, we're talking about Bradman level sort of domination. We had probably the biggest hitting IPL that I've ever seen this last year, and he's still going at about 5 and over. In in the World Cup, his average went his economy rate went up in the final when he got 2 for 18. Overall, he was under 4.5 for a tournament in T20 cricket, which, considering the players that were there, Head, Klass, and Buttler, it's absolutely unbelievable. No one else gets anywhere close to him, and I don't think there's an argument that he is now the greatest T20 bowler of all time. I'd say across pace and spin. There's just no one close to him.
Yeah, thoroughly deserved that. And as I say, not controversial in any aspect. There could be some of these that other people might argue with, but I think everybody would recognise the true greatness exhibited in 2024 by Jasprit Bumrah. Let's move on to the next award then. And this was a little harder for a few people. I think you can see the nominations on the screen there for the best wicketkeeper of 2024. Some of those, obviously, white ball specialists more so, some of those more test specialists as well. But the winner of this one, and this was close as well. In fact, I've missed one off there. Alex Carey was also nominated, but I've missed him off that list. He didn't win it because the winner was a man that's playing at the moment, Rishabh Pant, who is out there at the MCG playing for India. And did any of you guys vote for Rishabh? Neil Varani, tell us why.
To be honest, I think with the sidelining of Ben Foakes, we've only got two wicket keepers in the world who you can truly put in that top class with the gloves. A lot of those names there will rightly get plaudits for their batting, and some will say that that's part of the wicket keeper's role now. But purely with the gloves, I think it has to be between Pant and Rizwan. And I think Pant, since he's come back during the IPL and the World Cup, has just been very, very good. And Rizwan's had a slightly below average for him year. So it had to be Rishabh, and he won a trophy there. It's fine margins. I do think the others have been very good, but it's been mainly their batting, especially looking at that list, Jamie Smith and Gurbaz, which has put them on there. The glove work is to be proven.
Let's move on to the next category, which was best captain. And 4 people were voted for by the fan badges, and myself. And Pat Cummins for his exploits with Australia. Sophie Devine for New Zealand, taking them to a world title, the New Zealand women, the White Ferns. Tom Latham, obviously, for his captaincy predominantly in India, where he unprecedentedly took a touring side to India and came away with a 3-0 success. And Rohit Sharma, nominated, I think, mainly for his performances around the T20 World Cup and energising the white ball team for Team India. And this is the only one of the awards that's actually been shared. And it's actually quite nicely shared, this one, because the winners are, or the winner is, Sophie Devine and Tom Latham. So the 2 New Zealanders, the 2 Kiwis, got the same number of votes here. And New Zealand, they went through a period in 2024 where basically everything they touched turned to gold, didn't it? They were winning global trophies on the women's side of things. They were beating India in India. And Mark, the Kiwis always punch above their weight. They're always a good side to watch. And Tom Latham and Sophie Devine have brought them glory as well this year.
Yeah, there was talk about New Zealand cricket being on a bit of a downward spiral in 2023, but again, they proved the doubters wrong, both the women and the men. They always produce excellent cricketers. They always seem to produce firecrackers here and there. If you look at the men's team at the moment, you've got someone like O'Rourke coming through, who obviously is quick, tall, and he's going to have a great future. They obviously were any side that can go to India and win 3-0. It's one of the greatest test performances of the last 30 years, obviously. And obviously the New Zealand women dominating as well, beating Australia, India, England. A great year for them. It's slightly surprising that England steamrolled them in the first 2 test matches in New Zealand, but yeah, they're a cricketing nation that always produces when they need to. So yeah, I think both of them have deserved the awards.
Deepak, what was the mood like in India when New Zealand were beating them 3-0? I would imagine it went a bit quiet, didn't it?
At first, it was difficult to digest the 46 all out, but then we thought maybe India will make a comeback like they have always done. Then you see New Zealand at 223 or 233 for 7. From there, they move on to 400. And then a good fight back from India, but then again, another collapse. So, first test was like, it's okay, like we have lost a few tests here and there, but we'll make a comeback like we have always done. Second test was a shocker. I mean, they wanted a spin track which suited Santner more than our spinners. Santner completely outbowled the likes of Jaddu and Ashwin. Then third test, it was like just rolling over the Indians, who were probably down in confidence, and batters were looking out of sorts on those spinning decks. So yeah, it was horrible to say the least. It was probably more painful than some of the World Cup losses, because Test cricket is considered somewhat more important.
A lot of teams have tried to go to India and come away with a serious success. New Zealand did it, and one hell of an achievement by them. The next award that we're going to be voting for here, 3 nominees for this one, and this is for the emerging player, I guess young player. You could also name this one. Jacob Bethel, who's obviously made a stellar start in his England shirts in various formats. And Yashasvi Jayaswal, who has had a fantastic year for India, and Nitesh Reddy, who has really burst into the consciousness more recently, probably, than the others with his performances in Australia. But a very, very fine player, and obviously topped it off with 100 in the current test. And the winner of this one, and this wasn't unanimous, but it was close to being unanimous. And the winner was Yashasvi Jayaswal, who has had a fantastic year. He scored 1,394 test match runs. He could add to that yet at 53.62, 3 centuries along the way. And Neil Varani, a youngster with what I like about him, he seems to have the temperament to play all formats. He can boss a T20 match in the IPL. He can dog it out in a test match. He's got all of the various attributes there. And we've mentioned his kind of backstory before on this podcast, but he's come from very humble beginnings to becoming an absolute megastar, hasn't he?
He's he looks like he's going to be the next in line of the Gavaskar, Tendulkar, Kohli, sort of icons of Indian cricket. Across formats, he's been excellent every time he's played. So people think that he got into the test side off his IPL performances, but he has got an unbelievable record in first-class cricket for Mumbai. And if you do well at Mumbai, then it's going to hold you in great stead going forward. He looks like he's got everything, and I think there was the one thing that people were wondering about before was with the way that he plays, how's that going to translate when he goes to possibly the complete opposite in terms of pitches in Australia with the higher bounce, and 160 in Perth, 80 odd before. Well, I know it was his call, but it was a bad shout for that run out. So he's done very well there, and he seems to be learning every time he's out, because we'd seen some middling performances before, and then there's a very noticeable improvement to his technique. Stay injury fit, keep the same attitude, which he seems to be doing, and there's a long and illustrious career there. I assume you're on the blower trying to get him to Yorkshire as well.
I'll take you. I'll take him to Yorkshire. Yeah.
Well, I think we'll probably have a month where a few county sides will be looking to get Indian players in, and they'll be looking for a bit of English experience before next summer's series.
He'd be a very good county signing because he could, as I say, will play all formats, and he's one of the best in the world at all formats. So you could do worse, couldn't you? You take him at Lancashire, Mark, wouldn't you?
Well, I'd take him at Lancashire, given that we've got no batters and we're in Division 2. But unfortunately, that month Neil's talking about is no first-class cricket because we play everything in April when the IPL's on. So when he comes over, he'd only be playing 2020, and India wouldn't allow that anyway. So, but yeah, he's been a revelation this year, hasn't he? Where he burst onto the scene and in all formats really, and his background is makes it even better in terms of his how he's in a population of India's size to get to the top from his humble beginnings is fantastic.
Deeps, you're sitting in India speaking to us there, and when you get somebody like Jaiswal, who's come from he's obviously got a loving family. I've seen pictures of him and his family. They're very happy, but he's come from relative poverty to being an IPL millionaire. Obviously, turning himself into a great player at Test level. Do Indian people have more respect for people like that? Do they recognise that story?
Absolutely. I mean, I have followed Jaiswal from his under 19 days, even before that, and I have seen like from where he came from. Like he struggled a lot. I mean, he stayed away from home. Spent his night in a tent. Used to sell street food and so on. But there are a lot of people like Jaiswal who, I mean, you can say more than 50% of people who play domestic cricket in India start like that, and then with the emergence of IPL, they have got a lifeline. Even if they don't play for India, they do have that financial support. And Jaiswal, he was just destined to make it big. Even if you had followed that his journey before under 19 days, he scored at 200 in the Indian ODI domestic game, even before his under 19 days. So yeah, it was known that it's just a matter of time before he makes it big, and this has been the year when he finally announced his arrival, especially in red ball.
I often wonder with sports people who have that initial hunger, because when you're coming from a lowly start, you've got that hunger to make a life for yourself, make a life for your family as well. But once you've achieved and you've got a bank balance, which is more than any of us would ever dream about, and you've got all of that glory and you've got all of your contracts and what have you, you could be forgiven for maybe losing a little bit of that hunger. But Deepsy doesn't seem to be losing it at all, does he? He seems to be just kicking on and wanting to score run after run.
Absolutely. I mean, money is not a factor for him. He has that temperament to make it big. He has that hunger in him. I mean, he is if he does well, he has that temperament. I mean, mindset wise, he will never fail. Performance wise, you can say he will have some off patch, he will have some purple patch, and so on. But yeah, he has that beautiful temperament to go along.
Neil, you were going to come in and say something on Jaiswal there.
Yeah, I mean, you were just doing the lead into Rocky 3 there. He'll get down to Venice Beach and go running along the sand with Carl Weathers. But that is noticeable because we've all seen, across nationalities, the people we've seen so many people across sports as well, who as soon as they seem to make it to the top, they seem kind of sated and and they go off the boil. That hasn't happened with him so far, and it might be because of how great his struggle was to make it big, that it's kind of inbuilt that he's just got to continue going, and I would just hope that he's got the correct support environment to help him maintain that. So yeah, they always say that about the Brazilian and Argentinian footballers. The reason they get to the absolute peak and stay there is because they've had to fight so hard to get out there, and therefore they don't want to give it up, and they'll be driven to do whatever is necessary. I think we see that with some of the cricketers that come from India as well.
Absolutely, thoroughly deserving, though, of being our emerging player of 2024. He's had an incredible year, and he's good to watch as well. He's a really good player to watch. So good luck to him in the future. We're going to take a very short break, gents, and say thank you very much to manscaped.com for the continued support of the Cricket Badger podcast. If you go to manscaped.com and you quote Badger, you can get yourself 20% off and free shipping. And here's the sort of thing they do.
If men were squares, shaving would be easy, because a flat surface is perfect for a traditional razor. But we're not squares.
What?
Presenting Manscaped's new Dome Shaver Pro. Because we're not flat, we have curves, we have balls, we have round. Where most blades are created for flat surfaces, the Dome Shaver Pro is designed specifically for your big round head. With 5 double-track skin-safe blade heads and Manscaped's Flex Adjust technology, you'll be able to shave your head faster and more efficiently than ever before without the fear of nicks or cuts. And yes, of course it's waterproof. This is Manscaped. So go ahead and enjoy that big, bold beauty. Embrace the spherical essence of your existence. Grab life by the bald. Shop now at manscaped.com.
Thank you very much indeed to manscaped.com for their support of the Cricket Badger podcast. If you've got your Christmas money, go and splash it out on manscaped.com. Anyway, we've got 3 categories remaining. And we're going to start off with the best moment of 2024. We've had a few various suggestions for this. I'm trying to get my screen back up to mirror the suggestions that we've had, and that's not the right one. It's that one. Here we go. Best moment. The Lancastrian amongst us put up Tom Hartley's 7 for 62 against India at Hyderabad. It's as his best moment. India winning the T20 World Cup back in June. Which obviously sparked off fireworks and what have you. Gulbuddin Naib feigning injury at the T20 World Cup. Anybody that remembers that, when he went down like he'd been shot, didn't he? To try and kind of get them taken off, lie down until it rained. Sam Constas, guess who put this one up? Lucas, the fan badger from Australia, ramping Bumrah at the MCG just a couple of days ago. And also Nitish Reddy's 100 against Australia at MCG. Also this month, and that was probably nominated, I think, more. Obviously Nitish Reddy, amazing player, but also his dad's reaction, which was absolutely lovely, wasn't it? In the stands there, parents and what have you, playing the families play such a big part. And his dad was an absolute quivering mess when he was watching his boy celebrating his century at the Melbourne Cricket Ground. But the winner of this category, the best moment, according to the fan badges, is. There we go. There's Virat and Rohit after the final, celebrating becoming T20 World Cup champions, and fully deserved by them. And Deeps, something which I imagine sparked quite violent or not necessarily violent celebrations, but big celebrations in India when they were lifting that trophy.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, India have been close to a trophy since you can pick any of the ICC tournament and you'll find India in the semifinals or finals. But that big trophy eluded them for like close to 11 years. And when they came very close, you have must have seen the last 5 overs they needed just 30 runs with Klaasen and Miller at the crease. So I mean, being an Indian fan, having followed them for so long, I had already given up hope, and I think almost everyone who was not on that field, I mean, except for Rohit Sharma and those 10 guys, everyone else had lost hope. But yeah, kudos to them the way they came back, and for me, that Surya Kumar catch of Miller was the moment. I mean, that was the turning point, and yeah, that was the moment for me.
It's a shame Neil he had his foot over the rope, or where the rope should have been, but we'll gloss over that. But yeah, that was amazing. I felt for David Miller after having known David Miller at Yorkshire. He's a lovely bloke, and he nearly got his team across the line as well. South Africa so close to glory, but their downfall was India's success, wasn't it? And one thing about Rohit, Deeps just mentioned the nerves that would have been going through Indian fans in those last few balls, but Rohit doesn't show those nerves, does he? He kind of, you can look at Rohit, he can't tell if you are winning or losing.
Yeah, true.
Oh, sorry, James, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I just wanted to add a point to that. I mean, Rohit has won 5 IPL titles, and 2 of them are by just 1 run. I mean, you can imagine from that how close those matches have been and how clutch he has been as a captain in those situations.
Go on, Neil.
Yeah, he's a nice man back in sort of the vein of a Dhoni or Morgan. What I thought was particularly good in terms of his captaincy was everyone on comms and on X was screaming for Jasprit to be brought back earlier, much earlier, when Klaasen and Miller were going after the spinners. But he played it absolutely perfectly. He brought him back at the right time, and that strangle that Jasprit, Hardik, and Arshdeep put on the South African batting lineup was just stunning stuff. If it'd just been someone coming in and a load of Yorkers from Bumrah and 4 wickets fallen over or something, then that'd be one thing. But that was a very calculated squeeze on all their scoring opportunities. So I think they scored something like 12 runs in 4 overs between 16 and 19. They just weren't able to get the ball away, and it was it was absolutely brilliant. There weren't celebrations in my household. I was so stressed that I think my wife watched more of the final 5 than I did, because I was striding around the living room and could barely look at the TV through my fingers. And after so many close calls over the last few years, not least last year, then it was there was a sense of relief more than anything initially. But that for me was the moment. Although with a shout out to Sophie Devine, Susie Bates, and Leia Tahuhu, who've been on the edge for 12 odd years playing women's cricket, and have finally got themselves a trophy. They were all superb.
I think it was Deeps that voted for Gulbadin's feigning injury, but it really had to be in India winning. I mean, it's certainly the event that got my vote. And the worry is, Mark, that the good thing about India choking in the semi-finals of the finals was it gave everybody else a bit of a chance. But now we've got a nation that's got 1.4 billion cricket-loving people who have got some very talented white ball players. They've got the biggest white ball tournament in the world. Getting back to winning ways, this could set a trend for some time, couldn't it? India winning things.
Well, yeah, because they've got a very good infrastructure now. They're well run, well organised. You can criticise the BCCI as much as you want, but over in India, things are well run. And I mean, even in red ball cricket, there's a huge participation in it, and most Test players have to play red ball cricket to be considered for the national side. So the depth of talent is huge, and now they're getting their kind of fast bowling sorted out and producing more pace bowlers, physically bigger individuals than in the past. Obviously, different training programs, different fitness programs. You know, it's hard to compete with that. You know, if you're looking at England with 60 odd million people, and the fact that, you know, cricket is a very exclusive game in England and becoming more so, becoming, you know, a game for the rich and the middle classes and increasingly private schools. In India, you just talked about the young man who we gave the previous award to. There's still that opportunity to be able to make it and come from very humble backgrounds, a bit like footballers in the UK, really. That's what Indian cricketers are like. You've got Siraj as well, who come from a similar background. So, you know, you just got to equate cricket in India to being on the scale of what footballers in the UK, really. But better organised, I think. So I think as long as India keep it like that, you can't really see them not winning more Test matches and more one-day trophies quite consistently now.
Congratulations to Team India. And as I say, it's a worry for the rest of us because they got some very, very fine white ball players. And now they've got that belief and they've got that monkey off their back. Then who knows what they could achieve over the next few global cricket tournaments. The next award, the final award that we voted for, was for the best individual performance by a player in a match in 2024. Nominations on the screen there. I've had to highlight them in blue because there was that many of them. Gus Atkinson's century and his 7 wickets against Sri Lanka at Lords in September. He's enjoyed himself at Lords as old Gus. Jasprit Bumrah and that fantastic 8-wicket haul he took against Australia in Perth in November in that first test against the current series against Australia. Harry Brooks 317 in Multan against Pakistan in October. Sajid Khan's tremendous match. It was actually matches, wasn't it, for Sajid Khan? 9 wickets plus he's 22. That 22 doesn't seem a lot in that sentence, but it was quite an important 22 at the time against England in Multan in October. Ashwin's century and his 6th against Bangladesh in Chennai in September. And obviously Santner, that match-winning performance by him in Pune, 13 wickets plus his 33 runs as New Zealand took control of that series. So 6 nominations there. And the winner of that one, second award of the day for old Jasprit Bumrah. And that was a tremendous performance. 8 wickets. It might not sound as much as the others amongst it, but 8 wickets in that test in Perth. Plus, he was captaining the side and steering India to glory. And we've said loads already about how good Jasprit Bumrah was, but Deeps, when we saw him coming on and he was bringing himself back onto bowl at the right times and what have you, he just seems to be somebody that's just. I mean, there was a period. Forget that much for a second, but last night, Rohit took him off. He was off for about 5 or 6 overs. Nothing happened. The ball suddenly seemed to be dead. The pitch seemed to be docile. He came on about 6 overs later. The first ball went and just beat the bat, and he was just off again. He seems to get stuff from balls and from pitches that nobody else can get.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, for someone like Bumrah, you don't need the pitch to assist you. I mean, he makes things work. He tries something different when the pitch does not help him, and that is why we see he is in a completely different league. He has a lot of tricks in up his sleeve, and he uses it correctly. And more importantly, you see a lot of fast bowlers don't use their brain properly. They just know how to good balls, know how to set up batsmen, and bowl to their strength. But Bumrah is someone who has a lot of areas of strength, and he particularly knows which batter to use it against on which kind of pitch. And he has clarified the same in multiple occasions in different interviews and so. And it's completely evident on his on-field performances. So the thing is, he has a very good mental aspect along with his immense skill set.
Yeah, Jasprit Bumrah, an absolute star. Let's just talk about a few of these performances. That Harry Brook 317 mark. I mean, Harry Brook was somebody that we nominated as the best batter of the year. Didn't win it. Kamindu Mendis did, but that 317 that he scored against Pakistan. Yes, it was a road. I mean, there's no getting away from that. It was an absolute road, but you still need to concentrate. You still need to play your shots. You still need to accumulate those runs. Plenty of people that play on those kind of surfaces don't score 317, do they?
No, and it was the speed that he scored them at as well. I mean, to score 317 in any form of cricket is outstanding, but it was the pace of what he scored his runs at, which gave England the opportunity to win the game quite comfortably. His array of shots. Unfortunately, going back to what Neil was saying, actually, earlier on, I actually voted for Sajid Khan in this category because I thought after the first Test match, I also liked his moustache, which is another reason why I voted for him. But after the first Test match, I mean, the kind of despondency around Pakistan was immense, wasn't it? It's like England were going to run away with it. So, but in that second Test match, again, Brook, he unravelled a little bit against good spinners on turning wickets. And that is his only, he's got to get a little bit more consistency in his game. He gets these big scores and then kind of flops out, as Neil says, and playing the turning ball seems to be an issue a little bit. So, but that 317 obviously was a high class innings, but just a shout out to Sajid Khan because I think that second Test match, he really kind of pulled Pakistan through. Just the character of the guy.
And don't forget Noman Ali's part in that as well. I mean, Noman and Sajid together, Noman Ali and Sajid Khan together were exceptional. But
but just his personality, in that second Test match seemed to get the Pakistan side up.
There's not often you watch your team being beaten, Mark, and it seemed like the entire English nation that were watching those Test matches in Pakistan fell in love with the person that was doing it to us. Sajid Khan.
I thought it was brilliant. I mean, where he played for Somerset for a couple of games and averaged about 70 and got about 3 wickets. So when they picked him, I thought, oh right, okay. But it's not just his bowling, just his whole love of the game. It's really good to see a player these days who just loves playing the game.
What I really liked about him was the fact that he looked like a Bond villain. When they had the stony face, he looked quite serious. But then when his face burst into a smile, he looked like the happiest man in the world. He
went from kind of 70s type cricketer. He's a bit of a character, isn't he? We don't have many characters left in cricket. He's one of them. So he's not, he's not media trained or anything like that. He's not. He just does his thing and he enjoys it, and that's what I liked about him.
Long may we see a lot more of Sajid Khan going forward. That those performances against England were fantastic. Gus Atkinson, Neil, just a word about him, and I mean he's had a tremendous year for England in the Test arena. Obviously, made his debut for England this year. 52 wickets at an average of 22.15. 3 fifers along the way as well, and Gus is, and the century at Lords too. He's really taken to Test cricket well, hasn't he?
He has. I mean, you could say that maybe he had a soft entry in a couple of lower profile tests, but he's taken his opportunities beautifully. That century that he scored was absolutely stunning and came at a time when I'd say the game was in the balance at the time. So I think England were around 200 for 6 when he came in, and just no nerves. No nerves at all.
When we're talking about Sajid Khan being quite enigmatic, Gus Atkinson's not, is he? He's absolutely the same face. If you told him he'd won the lottery, or you told him that, I don't know, something awful had happened, he'd have exactly the same face.
I think he's seen a lot, and there's something to be said for players not coming through until they're a bit weathered. I think Gus must be about 28, something like that. He's a little bit.
He's a bit younger than that, I think. I'll find out. He's let's have a look. He's currently he's currently 20. Well, he's nearly 27. Yeah.
Okay. All right. But he's He's been around the county scene for a while, and he's seen a lot. It's not like he's a fresh-faced youngster just coming through. I actually wonder what would have happened if he'd been given a run out in India, because I think he toured with the group and was there in the squad for all 5 tests, but didn't get a chance. I think what he's done so far has been superb. Most places he's bowled have been more helpful, apart from well, New Zealand, along with the 6 tests in England. But I think there's with him and Cast, there's a good solid partnership to build on for the next 4 or 5 years, with some hopefully lightning pace in Wood and Archer, fitness permitting, to come in with them. Yeah, he's been superb. It can only go downhill though from here, can't it? If you get a century, a 5 for and a 10 for, all in your first year of playing Test cricket, I'm not sure what else you do.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned Bryden Cast there. Jamie Smith coming into the side, and Shoaib Bashir obviously taking, getting, well, even if he hasn't been incredible, he's taken a lot of wickets, Shoaib Bashir, and he's also gained a lot of experience as he's gone through 2024. So he's only very young, Shoaib Bashir, as well, for a spinner. So four players there that England have blooded in Test cricket, which can certainly give us some hope for the future. For England, and the final person, I think there was just the one left. Oh no, it's Ashwin as well. Two people to talk about there, 2 spinners for you there, Deeps. Ashwin's performance against Bangladesh in Chennai in September, and obviously the thoughts of you as an Indian fan with him announcing his retirement. He's going to be a big miss. But having said that, you hardly play him. You go to these places. If Ashwin was an Englishman, he'd have played 500 Test matches by now.
Yeah. So Ashwin and Jadeja together have done a lot of carry job for the Indian batting in the last few years. And this Bangladesh match was one such example. India were 144 for 6 when Ashwin came in, scored a brilliant 100, and then hit, then continued with the ball what he does the best, took a 5-4, and I think got the man of the series as well. So yeah, and his retirement was a shocker because it felt like he has like 1 or 2 years of Test cricket in him, but due to some reasons he took the retirement. The funny thing is, Ashwin has just had 2 below average series in India, and the 2 series are 12 years apart. One against England in 2012 and one against New Zealand in 2024. In between those, he and Jadeja built an invincible fortress. It was formidable as hell. Both of them did it with the ball as well as with the bat. The only series in which both of them had some below average performance, and India crumbled. So that. I mean, sums up Ashwin's greatness.
Neil, is there an element with Ashwin that he's retiring because he's fed up of just being left out all the time when he goes to, you kind of get a big series like the Border Gavaskar Trophy. Everybody's talking about it. He's in the squad, but he hardly plays. I would get annoyed by that if I was as good as him.
There is, but I have a little bit of sympathy with the BCCI. I mean, Ashwin is for me the greatest finger spinner that we've seen in cricket. However, he's been playing in the same team as a guy who you'd probably put in the top 10 all-rounders of all time. Jadeja can legitimately bat top 6 for.
It's not like Ashwin's a bad batter either. It's not like you're kind of talking about Phil Tufnell versus Jadeja. Ashwin can hold the bat. He's just not in the same category as Jadeja, is he?
Yeah, I mean, Ashwin has scored either 5 or 6 Test centuries, but they've either been in India or in the West Indies. Slow pitches. He is a very good bat. Deeps will remember with me Sydney last BGT where he batted out with a broken back for goodness knows
close
how many
to
overs.
40 overs, close to 40 overs.
Yeah, he's a very good bat, but it's just that he's got someone who is an excellent spinner, but can also bat, top 5, top 6 in the same team. Like you imagine McGill, how many test wickets he'd got, or Harath if he got a proper run before Murali had retired. It's that sort of level. And he is 37 now. He's never been the greatest fielder in the world, even though he is tremendously fit in the way that he needs to be as a bowler. And India have just got so many people coming through. So I think there may be some of that frustration, but he's just unlucky to be in the same era as someone that good. If he'd been playing for England, he'd have played every single match, home and away, and would probably be challenging, Warren, Murali, Anderson around the 700 test wicket mark.
He'd have picked up at least 3 sports personality of the years by now. And probably have statues of him around the country, because our spin department has been a bit weak, hasn't it? But anyway, let's move on. We've got one final award, and I want to get Mark to talk about this person. This is something which I haven't put up for the public vote, but it's a Lifetime Achievement Award. And the guy who gets this in our annual celebrations here, currently 42 years and 152 days old. And he is... rather blooming good at bowling, known for his swing bowling, 704 test wickets, 269. A lot of people forget how much ODI cricket both this man and Stuart Broad played. 269 ODI wickets, 18 T20 international wickets as well. High score of 81 against India at Trent Bridge. A few of you will remember that fine knock, but I think it's pretty obvious who I'm talking about here. The Lifetime Achievement Award goes to that man on the screen, Jimmy Anderson, who has obviously retired from cricket as we've gone through. He's been kind of maybe shown the door a little bit as part of that, I think, but he has stepped away and is now kind of an ambassador for this faster bowlers in the England setup. But Mark, as a Lancastrian, there aren't too many Lancastrians that have gone to England and produced quite as much as Jimmy Anderson has done. He goes down as an absolute legend of English cricket, Lancashire cricket, and somebody that I'm sure the Lancastrians are very proud of.
Oh yeah, we're very proud of him. I mean, and always when he's come back to Lancashire, he's always wanted to play for Lancashire. Wanted to play whenever he could. So yeah, very proud of him. And I think what's interesting about Anderson is not so much how many wickets he's got, which is great, but how he's always tried to improve himself. So if you look at his record overseas, for example, how it changed from his his late 20s after his injury into his 30s, it's phenomenal. So his overseas record over the last 10 years has been absolutely phenomenal, and that was about him going away and thinking about how he had to bowl in the subcontinent, for example. Where I don't think, obviously got Bumrah now, but in terms of overseas bowlers over the last 10 years, I can't think of any pace bowler who's been more effective in the subcontinent in terms of wickets or economy. So he's gone everywhere and he's learned how to bowl and bowl different ways, wobble seams, this for one thing or another. So it's his appetite for the game and his willingness to accept that he's, because sometimes you get players who can be a little bit arrogant, thinking they're really good and they don't have to learn. But he's always appreciated that he has to learn. And even when he's at Lancashire, when he's training, one of his mentors in the past was Glenn Chappell, ex-Lancashire bowler. And even though Glenn Chappell never played any cricket, in the winter, Anderson always trained with him when he wasn't with England to hone his skills and develop his deliveries. And he gives a lot of credit to Glenn Chappell in that respect. So I think there's a humbleness to him, which is which you don't get in a lot of cricketers. I know he's seen as a bit of a grumpy individual and what have you, but that only makes him even more authentic in my eyes. So I think we're not likely to see bowlers like him again in Test cricket with the longevity. You'll get bowlers who like Bumrah, who may play 70-odd Test match, who would have short, sweet, dynamic careers, but you know, you're not going to see those types of bowlers, aka Anderson, again. I don't think.
Shocked that you like somebody that's grumpy, Mark. Anyway, move on. Deeps in India, you call him Clouderson, or you used to call him Clouderson. But in my life, I've kind of worked out that if you have bad nicknames for somebody, it usually means that you respect them and you actually fear them a little bit. And I'm sure Indians and anybody around the world has got a huge amount of respect for Jimmy Anderson.
Absolutely. I mean, Anderson has been a nightmare for us when we travel to England. But when you consider in the subcontinent, Dale Steyn has been the best bowler. I mean, whenever he has toured India, he has been the best bowler. Anderson did not have the best of times in India in his initial tours, especially 2016 dented his image a bit more. I myself did an analysis on both of them during COVID, probably, and Steyn was miles ahead in the subcontinent, in every country in the subcontinent. Then Anderson, the way he turned around post the 2021 series, I mean, it was unbelievable. At that age, at that amount of experience, you are willing to change yourself so much. You are willing to adapt and adapt to the conditions. So that particular period of post COVID, till the time he took the retirement, till this 2024 India series as well, he was phenomenal in the subcontinent. I mean, there is no one near him.
Would you have taken him in the Indian side, Neil?
Depends when. when we only had Zaheer as a quality pacer. No, look, there are two things that I really admire about Anderson. One is that he is an unabashed shithouse on the field. As much as he may be the nicest guy in the world off the field, and I like that fire. I like the fact that he has a word. And get some people's faces. But two is, as Deep said, I think the 2016 series, he didn't do well, and he wasn't particularly gracious about it. But what he did after that is he actually took a look at what he was doing when he came out to the subcontinent, and he adapted the way that he bowled. He got a real handle on reverse swing. Previously, I think he tended to bowl dry rather than look to be a wicket-taking threat. But he definitely adapted the way that he bowled, and to do that at that age, having had significant success up to that point in your career already, was really brave, and he became a much better bowler for it. I think I'd agree with Deep that I think Steyn is the gold standard for over the last 15 years for foreign bowlers, and then probably followed by Cummins after that, who's also been superb in India. But Anderson became extremely effective over the last 8 years, and I think that's very, very, very admirable. Obviously, in senior conditions, in South Africa and England, he's just godlike. But to change what he was doing to gain success and to be better in the subcontinent, I thought was a real mark of a great player, to want to continue to learn and make yourself better at that part of your career, when he could have quite easily said, I've already got 400 test wickets, you don't have to tell me what to do out there. But he continued to improve throughout his career, and I think that was brilliant.
Congratulations then to Jimmy Anderson, who gets the Lifetime Achievement Award of our Badger nearly New Year's Eve, end of year awards ceremony. So we'll go back through. We've had wins for Kamindo Mendes, who's been our best batter, and he's picked up that award. Jasprit Bumrah, unopposed as the best bowler. Best keeper and was voted as Richard Pants. We had New Zealand captain Sophie Devine and Tom Latham picking up the best skipper of 2024. Jaisval was the best emerging player after a stellar year. Jasprit Bumrah popped back into the winners' enclosure with his performance against Australia at Perth, the best individual performance as voted for by the fan badges. And then the best moment of 2024 as voted for by the fan badges was India winning the T20 World Cup, and that sky catch that sealed it. And obviously Jimmy Anderson picking up the Lifetime Achievement Award. So that concludes our ceremony, gentlemen. Thank you very much, Mark, Neil, and Deeps for joining me. Really good to see you back on, Deeps. I see enough of the other two, but really good to see you back with us as a fan badger, Deepak, and hopefully we'll see you again soon. Thank you, and well, good Happy New Year to each of you. Hopefully your 2025 brings you much happiness and what have you as we go into the new year. And obviously, Cricket Badges, this will be the last. I must have said that about 5 times now, but this will be the last Cricket Badger podcast of 2024. Hopefully, you have a very good New Year's Eve and have a wonderful luck, happiness, love, and all sorts of wonderful things in 2025. We will see you in 2025 with more Cricket Badger podcasts. Until then, have a very good time over New Year's Eve and enjoy 2025, everybody.